on Zoom and we still got it wrong. Hello, everybody. My name is Alexandra.
I'm Angelica.
And welcome to another Tacobout It Tuesday, where we talk about all things the arts and the people who love them. Now, we're going to have a series for about a month, right?
Yeah, our summer series.
Our summer series of Tacobout It Tuesday, because we've had so many amazing people over the year, and we have grown over 100 subscribers since our first episode.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for subscribing to this channel. If you guys are interested in sketch comedy, learning about theater, learning about the arts, and just, having a giggle, then you should definitely think about subscribing for more content and keeping up with our artistic journey.
You should do more than think about it. You should
just do it.
And please comment below. Your comments help us so much in thinking about the next step, what we should do next, and improving our channel. Yeah, so please comment.
We like hearing your thoughts, and we like talking to you.
Yeah.
So for today's Tacobout It Tuesday, we are going to be hearing some advice from our actors.
And we've had actors from all over the US thanks to Zoom, and we've gotten so much advice and so many different perspectives on how to help actors achieve something a little bit bigger.
Yeah, these are actors from film and from theater, so you've got a wide range going there.
Yeah, it's been kind of cool to see in different areas what different people think about the way they act and what helped them along the way.
So thank you to all of our actors who have been on Tacobout It Tuesday so far. We are excited for the many more to come.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. And thank you so much for, spending time with us and talking taco and talking weird things about yourself that other people wouldn't necessarily know about you. We hope that some of you come back for a revisit.
Yes, we really appreciate you guys. So without further ado, the advice from our actors.
Improv just being boot camp for actors, because it really forces you to be present in the moment and listen, which is, if you can master that as an actor, and then of course the memorizing lines and having sort of your actor brain telling you that here's the cues, here's the lines, if you can meld those things together, it's going to be much more interesting to watch.
There's a lot to teach in improv, obviously, and reps matter, and you can get better. It's not a matter of you either have it or you don't. It's like anything. It's like any sport.
Definitely, yeah.
Yes, there are going to be some people who, like a Robin Williams is predisposed, is gifted, and just has it. He still has to work. He still has to work at his craft.
Well, first of all, there's in actor training, okay? As an actor, you got to be pliable, first of all. You need to be able to work on impulse. I think a lot of people think of acting as being a show-off. They think of it as turning into somebody else. That's fine and dandy, but you still work on your own impulses, okay? Good actor has good impulse, and that is comedy, tragedy, everyday life. If you don't have impulse, you're not living, right? You don't have a pulse if you don't have impulse. And that's your job, is to have a pulse, have impulse, the thing that propels you into the next thing. So improv as a training tool is central, okay? Keeps you on your feet. It makes your brain work, makes your blood flow, and it makes you just lean into the next thing.
If you're a classroom teacher, so I think sometimes, when people are talking about improv, they're like, oh yeah, I teach and blah, blah, blah. I teach improv, but I also am a teacher, like I'm a professor. And in my actual classroom, I use improv all the time. And I'm actually kind of looking towards thinking about some ways to start doing workshops for teachers about how to use improv in the classroom. Even if you don't want to be a performer, again, the improv mindset I think is really, really good for classroom teaching, whether you're teaching little kids or college students, middle school. It's helped me be so much better. I can and my students, and it helps to really build a community of students in the classroom, rather than like they're afraid I'm going to just be like, nope, you're wrong.
You never know what's going to happen during a game, right? You don't know where a ball is going to get hit. You don't know where the wide receiver is going to cover you, right? You don't know what's going to happen during the game. All you can do is practice the skills you need in order to play the game as good as possible. So that's why, so to me, improv is like that. You practice and you practice and you practice and you practice to gain the skills in order to put on an entertaining show that is fun for you and it's fun for the audience and works and everything, comes together right. Because you never know what's going to happen in the show.
If you haven't done improv, try it, check it out. It helps you, it's just good for your life,
It is.
It brings you joy, it's a safe space, and that's the important thing. A lot has been going on the last 4 months. Pandemic and just a lot of racial issues out there in the world. And improv is supposed to be a safe space for everyone to be able to express their feelings. So, because, we're being vulnerable up here on stage and, saying some true things about our lives and how we feel about some things. So, just continue to promote improv as being a safe space for everyone.
The Black joy to people and bringing a whole different experience and letting people bring their experiences to us. And it really just makes theater that more broad and specific at the same time. Broad as in you have more than one experience being brought out on stage, and more specific because you can find people who can link on to what you've been through, and so that'll add a whole nother layer of nuance to every scene.
It gives a lot of people a reason to live. I mean, it's therapeutic. It helps a lot of people emotionally. I mean, why do people watch movies? Why do people watch plays live? I mean, it's not just for entertainment. It's to escape your problems. The study of acting, it's the study of how to be a human being, and not just how to be someone else. I learn more about myself because I'm like, oh, there's part of that character in me that I didn't even know was there.
In harder times generally, or transition periods in my life, I think it's been really cool for me to have some of the improv philosophy or rules, whatever you want to call them, to have those to lean on and lean into, where it's presence is really important. And so if I'm having a hard time being present, how can I try to figure that out? I think one of the main things as a player in improv is being okay with the unknown, or getting used to it, so that it's not necessarily I'm saying, oh, I'm very comfortable not knowing. I'm not lying to myself. I'm just aware that in improv, there's always that moment where you don't quite know what's going on, but you still have to make choices. And so seeing that in an active way, I think is really helpful. I think that's kind of right now.
I guess think about things because you're constantly trying to be other people. So it definitely allows you to research what those characters would be what their mindset would be. So it definitely helps you at least build a repertoire of what you should have in the back of your brain in case you have to do a cold read or something at an audition, or just preparing for a self-tape. It's just good to know how to adapt and stuff. So I definitely do think that theater helped me open up.
Never be afraid, and always, if it's gonna benefit you, take it, and don't hold yourself back because you're just wasting time. There's no reason. You're never gonna feel 100% prepared for it. It's the truest thing. I was terrified to move to New York City. I was terrified. I was so scared of so many things, but you have to do it, or you really never will, because you will continue to be scared.
I think that the biggest kind of misconception about the theater and the entertainment industry is what people define as success. And I think that's something that most people really should take a step back, because there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of performers all over this country that are making a living and doing their art. And just because you don't see them on TV, just because they're not Brad Pitt or something like that, doesn't mean that they're not able to contribute to their communities and contribute to the art and contribute to what they want to do. And I think that's my biggest thing when people say hey, you're, what are you, an actor? And then it's well, what have you been in? And it's well, I've been in all of these things that you haven't seen, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't impactful for the people that did see it. Right. So I think there's a huge varying of success. And I don't think there's enough conversation about the people that are like you and Angelica, that are doing your thing. You know what I mean? That you're having these interviews and you're constantly creating content and stuff. And that to me is just as important as something that I see on TV or something. And that's something that the industry, that a lot of people that don't know the industry, that don't go to see like regional shows or don't go to see, touring children's shows. I did children's theater forever, but I got me my first apartment. I was paying my bills. I was a productive member of society doing that. And that was fine.
Life imitates theater, theater imitates life. It's our chance to escape, and not only escape, but even process some of the things that are going on. I mean, I remember there was this video that I saw in college that I even show my kids now, of this acting coach, Patsy Rodenberg, I believe is her name. And she talks about how there was this play called Trojan Women that a man went to go see and was telling her about that he did not like, but he didn't like it because the woman playing on drama key who lost her son made this sound, and that sound reminded him of the sound he made when he found out his son or his daughter, I can't remember who it was, had passed away. And he had found that they had been, murdered. And that's what it is, you don't necessarily have to love the arts or TV, film, theater, whatever, but it's there for you as an escape or to help you go through whatever you need to go through. And I think that's so valuable and so important.
I mean, there's a lot that you can learn from theater. It's not just acting. It's not just being on stage or being in film and having fun. There's a lot of things that you can actually learn from it. Public speaking, handling anxiety and nervous and stuff like that. I mean, if you put on an act, I could be on stage and I'm nervous as all hell, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna be that role still. You can basically, it teaches you to just put on a face and pretend. The whole saying, fake it till you make it. That's acting. There's a lot of real life skills that you learn from just being in theater.
I have a whole diatribe about accessibility of theater, right? I think sometimes theater is really good, when the art requires it to be inaccessible. But sometimes it just doesn't make sense to me when it's a show for only 2 people in a back street of New York, and you have to follow a map and wait 2 months to get it, and it's 4 hours long. It's just it's not accessible, right? So I think that these problems that we're having are good because there's a lot of accessibility, because there's a lot of communities that don't have access to a community theater. There's a lot of places that don't have it, but they do have access to some kind of digital medium or something like that. And while it's an unfortunate scenario, all of us would absolutely like to be in a theater, our cold, dark, safe, cold space we call home.
Yeah.
I don't think we should lose this.
Lesson that was stressed probably the most was the best improvisers are the best listeners. And so I'm always off stage listening. And I used to be nervous about going in and being the first person to initiate a scene. And now I choose to stay back because I like to see what's kind of being set up and developed. And because I know a lot of improvisers avoid plot and stuff, but because I have my English background, pay attention to plot, pay attention to what characters haven't been developed quite yet, but are associated with characters. Maybe we've seen a father and a son, but my mind is thinking, where's the mother at? Right? Well, I'm thinking about those kinds of elements. And I'm always thinking about how can I bring this story full circle?
Theater will be back. It'll be different. It won't be the same way before. And that's the other piece, the accessibility of it, which is so important. We can't lose the accessibility. So I hate to say there are no stakes because people are very invested in the arts. But if you fail in the arts, you learn. And then you take that with you, and there really is no failure is the point. So, everything is part of who you are, and it helps you grow. So the legacy is what we give.
The great thing about improv is all you have to do is concentrate and respond. It doesn't have to be smart. You may be throwing it to the next person, and they're the one who has the joke. You got to remember, it's like the comedy teams, Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy. There's always a straight person. Sometimes you may be the straight person, and that's okay because you need the straight person to make the funny person funny. Absolutely. So if you just get out of your own head and just say, be in the moment and listen and respond, That's all you have to do.
If there's one thing that this past year has taught us, is how invaluable the arts are. Because everyone who self-quarantined, who had to be in lockdown, who had to work from home and find a way to entertain their kids, the way you didn't just stare at the ceiling for 24 hours a day was through consuming and watching and experiencing art.
She said, well, what kind of an actor do you want to be? Because it really is helpful. Do you want to host? Do you want to do commercials? Do you want to do film? Do you want to do television? Because she, in her opinion, she said, people that try to spread it out and do everything really don't become very good at doing any one particular thing.
You can believe them. So like talking animals, if you commit to it and believe it, it can happen, right? It's not our world, but if you can imagine it, it has to exist somewhere. You just have to then believe it and make the time, space, and conditions for that to exist. So that's a really, weird rudimentary way of slaving those two things together, but that's the thing I always kind of live by. The other one, which is more for the BIPOC folks who might be watching, but also for anyone in a marginalized group, whether it be women or anything of that nature, where you're othered or you're the minority in that situation. In an improv and comedy, it's if you're not a straight white man. That's pretty much what that is. But there's a piece of advice that this really awesome teacher, director, and person that was on that first show that I saw at Second City. His name's David Pompey. He, there's a point in my career where I was very much like, why am I here? I was supposed to be doing this stuff. I wanted to be and working. I'm so far behind. I'm going to get my master's. What is going on? I don't know why I'm at Second City. This is crazy. It's kind of like feeling like I was failing at life by working there. And a lot of it because it happened very fast. There was a lot of things that would come up against where I knew people had been saying things, not to me, but I knew they had been said about me of like, oh, the only reason you're there is because you're Black. And that's the kind of thing. And so, when I was kind of like, why am I dealing with this? Like, this isn't my life. And, he took me out to lunch one day and, he told me, he said, you know what, like right now you're where you need to be. And he's like, people that want you to be here, you're here because they want you to be here. And he said, and here's the thing you have to remember is that, if you're bad, right? Or you're just okay. If you happen to be a white dude, you kind of fade into the mediocrity of all the other mediocre white dudes. And then you can kind of coast by in that world. It's like, but if you stand out and you're the only type of person that's in that group, they're going to remember you. And if you're bad, you're going to be that bad Black guy that was in that show. If you're good, you're going to be that good Black guy that's in the show. If you're just in between, you're going to be that in between Black guy in that show that's going to be one thing of bad. Like you won't fade into the background of things that unforgettable. So if you got to a certain level or so far, it's because you stood out. Because if you didn't and you didn't have the ability, you still would have stood out as being that bad. And so that was the thing of like, so if you get anything, no matter why they gave it to you, you only got it because you deserve to get the job in the first place, right? And so I think that's the thing for people to remember in that place of like, don't allow other people's reasons why you shouldn't have gotten the thing to take away from the fact that you got the thing. Now do the best you can with that thing you got.
So good because it keeps you warmed up all the time and you just feel like you're always in it. Every scene is an improv. That's how you have to think about it, because what a lot of actors, including myself, get hung up too much in is memorization. They memorize it first thing. And every actor is different. So whatever works for me, I just say it works for me. So I'm never coming across as this is the right way to do it. That's garbage. Anything that kind of floats your boat and works for you, it works. But for me, that wasn't working, but I was doing it because I'm going to be a good little actor and get my stuff memorized. But that's not actually, to me, the most efficient thing. The most efficient thing is the relationships of what you do, and the relationships, and you do the background work. And what I found, and I have a degree in acting, and I kind of just found this is that if you do enough of the character work of making memories and relationships with people, you'll find that by the time you go to memorize it, you're like 90% there already. What I say to people is give yourself permission. Give yourself permission. That is the biggest thing. You have to give yourself permission to mess up, to be messy, to show your cracks, to show, because there's a lot, with growing up, and it's not to sound philosophical, but acting is a lot about, it is all about being a person, and being an open, empathetic type of person. If you give yourself permission to be true to yourself, anyone can become an actor.
Just like go for it. Like whatever you think you should try. I feel like, especially if don't have a family to feed yet or something like that, I think you should go for it. If it's an actor, I usually tell them like, look, just like get on camera or get an experience in any way you can, work for free, do anything. Just get started. I think so many people have excuses of why they can't, do it. Oh, well, I don't have the time. I don't have, whatever. Like if you love it and you want to try it, you're going to find a way to make it work.
I think that there's so much that anybody can learn from the arts, if that makes sense. Like I feel like people can be kind of dissuaded from taking part, even in just like an improv class or just anything, because they're like, oh, I'm not good at that, or like I'm not a good performer, or I'm not a good musician, or like whatever. But I feel like there's so much more in the arts, and not just the performing arts, but just in the kind of more artistic side of the world. There's like lessons in them, right?
Try and see if it's right for you. I would say if you haven't tried it at all and you're thinking about it, you should definitely just do it, and I know it sounds really generic, but like it really is going in and trying and seeing what works and what may not work for you. You won't know unless you try. And like, I'll take myself, for example. I wouldn't consider myself a very talented individual. I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a great actor or a great comedian or a great improvist or thespian or whatever you would like to call it. But I'm someone that came in, was interested in those fields, and I gave it a try. And over time, through hard work and doing the best that I can and making connections and networking and doing what I can, I was able to, in the course of 10 plus years, I was able to do multiple YouTube videos, multiple YouTube series, broke a Guinness World Record for the most straws in my hair at one time, years ago, did that, wrote 3 books, made a bunch of connections with celebrities, media personnel, actors, actresses, theater people. Like, the fact that I was able to do that in that period of time, just by trying and just being interested in it, shows that you can do the same thing, and it may lead to a bunch of different paths that you would never even expect or even do.
Right.
So just try and see what happens.